lockdown. Representative Adam Smith posted on Twitter just moments ago, "My staff and I are safe. If on the Hill, find closest office and shelter in place and stay away from windows, hoping all are safe." And that order to both shelter in place and stay away from windows has been going out over the loudspeakers inside the Capitol building, and it's posted on the monitors indoors as well. So the building itself still in lockdown, and people still taking precautions, although the latest word that we are getting now from the Capitol Police is that they do have someone who they believe to be the shooter in custody. But obviously they want to just make sure that that person would have been working alone and that there's no other danger before they open things back up. There is a perimeter around the White House as well, and there's one report from ABC that someone tried to ram the gate at the White House shortly before. Now we're looking at some different live pictures. These are coming to us from CNN. And you can see this police officer running across a lawn right here with weapons out. And these are live pictures, Dan? Okay, so, and now we're going to go to ABC News for a special report.
Here at this hour, after reports that the U.S. Capitol has been put on a security lockdown, you're looking at live pictures right now of Constitution Avenue, and here's what we know so far. Sources telling ABC News that there are initial reports someone tried to ram the gate at the White House and then fled to Capitol Hill, where there were then shots fired. It is unclear who fired those shots, but as you can see, there is a significant police presence at this hour, and a number of emails have gone out alerting folks on Capitol Hill and at the Supreme Court to stay inside. And I want to bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Jeff Zeleny, who reports on Capitol Hill for us. And Jeff, you've talked with your sources. What are they telling you?
Well, David, we've talked to 3 senators who witnessed these shootings. They were standing outside the U.S. Capitol building, around the Dirksen Senate Office building. To give you some perspective, just about a block across the street from the U.S. Capitol, Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania very calmly told us a few moments ago he heard at least 3 shots fired. Senator Sherrod Brown was also walking there. He said he heard more. Police officers told these senators to get down under vehicles nearby. And they eventually made their way back into the U.S. Capitol, which, David, it is on lockdown. We are on the Senate side of the Capitol. A lot of police activity outside, and senior Senate aides are telling ABC News that one Capitol police officer was shot, not confirmed, but this senior Senate aide is telling us that, David. So a very active scene here at the moment.
Again, reiterate that point where we believe that one person has been shot, Jeff?
A senior Senate aide told me a short time ago that they believe one Capitol police officer was injured, was shot in this police activity. We do not know the severity of that, but that's what a Senate aide, a very high-level source here, told me just a few moments ago, David.
We believe that we have the sound of that now, giving details of this possible officer shot. The report's coming in late this afternoon as we're on the air. Let's take a listen.
I'm sorry, Senator, you said you heard shots.
We thought we heard shots. So a lot of police cars. Then we heard shots. And then the police told us to go back. We were simply walking back to our office.
I said we heard cops and sound like shots.
Yeah.
How many?
We heard pops. 3, 4, 5 pops probably. That I don't know if they were shots or not. And then the police told us to come. We were just walking. The police told us to come back.
What side of the building were you walking on?
We were not yet. We were in the grassy area this way, that walkway where people park. And then they told us to get behind, told us to come back and get behind the car, and then take it from there.
How close are these now? You were just outside the Capitol, I'm sorry, were you on the other side of Constitution?
No, we're just in the grass right now, walking towards.
Sounded like it was right outside of Dirksen.
But we don't really,
Right, no, that's fine.
see where they were in front of the car.
Just a taste of the chaos at the Capitol at this hour. That was Senator Sherrod Brown there describing the shots fired. A number of witnesses hearing those shots fired outside the Capitol. It's believed that this might have started at the gate in front of the White House, someone trying to ram that gate and then driving on to Capitol Hill. Again, you're watching ABC News Live coverage. That shot is of Constitution Avenue, where there is a significant police presence at this hour. We are learning from our sources right now that there could be a suspect reported dead on the scene. That is just coming into us. I want to turn to John Carl, who's at his post at the White House. And John, before we came on the air, you were telling me of some activity at the gate that's in question.
Yeah, and let me explain, David, where this happened according to these reports. This is not really a gate to the White House. It is a vehicle barricade on 15th and Pennsylvania Avenue, 15th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. It's right in front of the Treasury building, which, as you know, sits right next to the White House. And as we understand, the vehicle ran into this barricade, and then there was a pursuit, we are told. Unclear exactly how long that pursuit was. We're told it was a short pursuit, and that vehicle is the one that ended up there on the Capitol, on the Senate side, there on Constitution Avenue, where you see all that activity and where those shots were fired. What we've been noticing here at the White House is, first of all, the White House grounds are on a lockdown, which means we are not allowed to leave. Nobody else is allowed to come onto the White House grounds, and we've seen Capitol, Secret Service police cars and motorcycles going back and forth with their lights on. But it looks like this is a precautionary step in the wake of what was that. Some kind of vehicle hitting those guards, hitting those barricades. I should point out that happens from time to time here at the White House, and it doesn't necessarily mean somebody is trying to break in. They've had in the past drunk drivers come in and hit those barricades, and always create some kind of an incident. This obviously went beyond that.
John Karl, our chief White House correspondent, talking about how he is not allowed to leave the White House grounds now on lockdown. Jeff Zeleny reporting in from the Capitol, from his post where they're on lockdown as well, security lockdown. Some of the images coming in addition to what you're looking at right there, you can see a sniper right there on the Capitol grounds. Certainly a very tense afternoon unfolding on Capitol Hill, and a notice that went out from the U.S. Capitol Police advising everyone by email. This is the notice here: to close, lock, and stay away from external doors and windows. The notice, in fact, says that gunshots have been reported on Capitol Hill. There are unconfirmed reports of an officer injured, as you heard from Jeff Zeleny a short time ago. I want to bring in our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, who joins us on the telephone. And obviously, this is a very quick-moving investigation, Pierre.
That's right, David. We've just heard from law enforcement sources. We're being told that the FBI, ATF, and all law enforcement officers are responding to the Capitol was based on reports of a car chase and shots fired. We also are getting some guidance from sources that a suspect may have been shot and may be neutralized at the scene. We're trying to get additional information on that, but the information is that the car chase ended in a confrontation and that the suspect, female, described by our sources as a female, has been neutralized.
Just to bring everyone up to speed who might be joining us now, you're watching our live coverage here on ABC this afternoon of some tense moments playing out on Capitol Hill. Reports of a car ramming into one of the gates in front of the White House, as you heard John Karl report there. Those kinds of disturbances aren't entirely uncommon. What is the fact that the shots were fired. This car then headed for the Capitol outside the Dirksen building, as we were showing you there moments ago, that map. And that's where there were additional shots fired, exchanged with Capitol Hill police. There are reports that perhaps at least one officer was injured. And as you heard Pierre Thomas report there moments ago, that a possible suspect, perhaps the driver of that car, a female, as Pierre said, could be neutralized, which is a law enforcement term. There is a report that that person could in fact be dead. Obviously, this all has to be pieced together and confirmed by authorities who are working this on the scene. You saw the notice that went out almost immediately, not only at the Supreme Court across the street, at the Capitol, at the White House, where John Karl is reporting in, telling everyone to close, lock, and stay away from their doors, to stay inside. You saw a hint from Senator Sherrod Brown there moments ago of the chaos inside the Capitol. And just to give you an idea, this all comes as the government shutdown plays out on Capitol Hill. Tensions already high, political tensions, because of the ongoing struggles between Republicans, Democrats, and the White House about what they're going to do to move past this shutdown. The American people, of course, caught in the middle. Obviously, no word on whether or not this person who might have rammed one of the gates of the White House did so, because of tensions all over this country about which party might be at fault for this. But clearly, this comes at a time of heightened tension on Capitol Hill. I want to bring back in Jeff Zeleny, who has additional reporting. And Jeff, you were checking with your sources who confirmed to you that they heard the shots themselves.
They did, and these three senators, we normally talk to them about policy things, but David, they were eyewitnesses to these shots. Three senators shaken but calm describing this situation here. But I can report to you now, a government shutdown means the Capitol is not nearly as crowded as it was before. But the Capitol Police have been in full authority here, as many of them are here as ever. And they were running through the hallways of the Capitol when we first heard these reports. They ran into the Sergeant at Arms, ran into the Senate chamber, making sure that that situation was okay. But these three senators did witness this. But right now, David, things are getting back to normal a little bit. We just received a notice that there is an all clear, at least on one side of the Capitol. The lockdown is no longer in place there. So it would appear, if these reports are right, that the situation is getting under control, David.
That's what I'm hearing as well, Jeff, that the House side of the Capitol complex is now operating as usual, no longer on lockdown mode. We're told that at the Supreme Court, they're not calling it a lockdown, but they certainly aren't letting anyone enter or leave the building. We are closed, they say, at this hour until this situation can be determined as to what in fact has played out. I want to check back in one more time with Jon Karl, our chief White House correspondent, who is at his post. John, what can you tell us from there?
Well, two important facts here. One is that the Marine Guard is at the entrance to the West Wing of the White House. As you know, David, what that means is the president is here in the Oval Office at work. And on the other side, looking outside the gates from my vantage point, I see the Secret Service presence, but I also see a number of tourists in Lafayette Park. If there were a continuing threat here at the White House, rest assured that entire park would have been cleared. So somewhat getting back to normal here at the White House, even though for the time being anyway, we're not actually allowed to leave.
Give us an idea, John, though, of where that gate is in relation to where you're standing.
Well, it's about a block and a half away. It's not so much a gate as it is a vehicle barricade. It stands in front of the Treasury building, which is a mammoth federal building next to the White House. So it's a good distance from the White House. I can see it from here. I can see where that gate is or where that barricade is, but it's not directly in front of the White House. There's not really an entrance to the White House. Even if you got through that barricade, you would still have to drive over a block to get to the White House itself.
We showed the image of that sniper earlier, John. I wanted to show our audience who tuning in now to our coverage of shots fired on Capitol Hill. That's believed to be a marked Secret Service car there in that image. Just some of the images coming in. People are tweeting about this in obviously in real time, which is as these events unfold now in this day and age of social media. But what we know is that a short time ago, there were reports that a driver inside a car tried to ram that entrance, as Jon Karl points out, in front of the White House, then continued in that car to Capitol Hill, where there were then not only reports of shots fired, but we've heard witnesses, including Senator Sherrod Brown there moments ago, talking about the shots fired outside the Capitol. The notices that went out immediately by email for everyone to stay inside their offices. Part of the Capitol, they are still under security lockdown, it's believed, although they might not be calling it that. The Supreme Court still closed at this hour as the investigation continues. We heard from Pierre Thomas, our senior justice correspondent, and if we could check back in with him, we will, on this fast-moving investigation. What we believe is the situation at this point is that perhaps one officer might have been injured in that shooting, and that perhaps the suspect inside that car, a female, it's believed, might be on the phone with us now. Also, security hovering over the Capitol right now, the Washington Monument there in the distance as we watch that helicopter in the sky. Just part of the scene unfolding, Jim.
Yes, David. I'm standing just next to the Russell Senate office building, which is about a block from the main part of the Capitol itself, the Capitol building. On the way here, at First and Constitution, which is again another block away, is where I saw at least one Secret Service marked police car had overturned. I'm told that was because he was responding code 3, lights and siren, up to the Capitol because of the report of shots fired. As he was responding, one of the people running the barriers here, they're embedded in the street. One of the officers here raised that barrier. So the officer who was driving the car at high speed hit that barrier and went up into the air and then came down grill first. That officer was injured and taken away by ambulances. We do not know the condition of that officer. As far as the shooting inside, if there was one, I don't have any direct information about that. I can just tell you that on the outside, police are quite nervous. They have now put out barriers around the Capitol, at least a block. Capitol police officers come out and begin pushing onlookers away, including the press away. And there is a complete lockdown on the Capitol building itself, no going in or going out.
You mentioned the
That's
officer.
situation I see now.
Yeah, Jim, you mentioned the officer shot and injured. We don't know the condition. Have you heard anything about the possible driver of that car, the condition of her?
No, in fact, nobody here is speaking whatsoever. None of the Capitol Police. There's no information being given out, official information being given out. The only information is coming from eyewitnesses, and the only eyewitnesses I was able to speak to so far were eyewitnesses to the accident of the Secret Service agent on the way to the report of shots fired. I don't know anything, I'm afraid, David, about exactly what went on in the Capitol building itself, and if anybody was injured inside there.
Jim Avila, part of our White House team. Jim, my thanks to you as the situation continues.